It is back on the road for the Roadrunners. Turned out well the last time they ventured away from San Antonio. A 27-7 win at Houston on opening night. This the first ever trip to Stillwater, Oklahoma. Welcome to the UTSA Football Insider. I'm Hector Ledesma. Another week, another opponent from a top 5 conference. And if that game against Arizona is any indication, should be a lot of fun to see the Roadrunners compete against Oklahoma State. A lot of things to like coming out of the contest against the Wildcats, like the ability to get off the mat. Though Arizona scored the very first play from scrimmage, by the 8:47 mark of the second quarter, UTSA had battled back to reclaim the lead. Then in the second half and into the fourth quarter, down 10, they scored a touchdown to get within 3 and eventually had a couple of opportunities to drive for a tie or even the lead down the stretch. So after coming that close against the Pac-12's Wildcats, the Roadrunners now get ready for the Big 12's Cowboys. We sat down with Coach Coker to wrap up the Zona game. We also look ahead to Oklahoma State in this week's Coker's Corner. Well, Coach, as we look ahead to Oklahoma State, when you look at the Arizona game, what are some things that can carry over from the Wildcat game?
Well, I think, Hector, the big thing, too, is just being able to finish. You know, we had an opportunity to win the Arizona game, but we weren't able to finish. We weren't able to put the drive alive to win the game. We're going to be on the road, and I think that's the thing we've got to carry with us. Is, you know, we've got to play for 4 quarters, and everybody's got to do their job, and that's the big thing. Do your job.
Talked about going on the road this weekend. When you and I talked last week, you mentioned how neat it would be to get that win against a school in a top 5 conference. So to get that chance again, a week after you just met Arizona, I imagine that's something you guys, your players are looking forward to?
I think we're looking forward to playing Oklahoma State. I don't know if it's a win over a Power 5 conference team that makes a difference, but I think, again, they're looking forward to they like the big crowds. They like the opportunity to play against a team like Oklahoma State. And we want to represent. And obviously we want to win the football game, but we want to represent. And I think that's a tremendous challenge in Stillwater with Oklahoma State, but we're excited about it.
Before speaking to the specifics of this year's Oklahoma State team, when people hear Oklahoma State, they think, wow, a perennial power in the Big 12. Just your thoughts overall of scheduling a program like Oklahoma State and what it does for UTSA football.
Well, I think the big thing it does, Hector, is first of all, are you competitive? You know, to schedule a team like Arizona or Oklahoma State and not be competitive, that's not a good thing. But again, if you're competitive, I think that says a lot. And obviously, we need to win some of these games. And I think playing at Oklahoma State, I think helps recruiting. I think also it really motivates our players to get better because we have to get better to play a team like that.
And for you, kind of a personal game as well, you spent a good chunk of the 80s in Stillwater as an assistant. If you could take me through your days in Stillwater there with the Cowboys.
I was there with Jimmy Johnson to begin with and Pat Jones after that, but I was there 7 years. Had some really good football teams there. Again, some great players, and Leslie O'Neal on defense, Barry Sanders, Thurman Thomas, Mike Gundy, Hartley Dykes. So we had some great players there and really kind of a fun time. Stillwater's a great place, a nice town, and not like it is now. I tell you, the new stadium that Mr. Pickens has done, and it's just taken a whole new level.
You mentioned Mike Gundy. To go against him now in a coaching capacity, is that pretty fun for you? I imagine it is for him.
Well, I don't know if it is or not. It's not really fun for me because I know Mike's not going to play, so I'm not worried about him playing. He for sure not worried about me playing. So I think, again, Mike's done a great job there, and I think he's just done a super job. And I think the thing, he's just worried about his team getting better and doing what they need to do to win a game, and that's exactly what I'm concerned about.
Specifically, this year's Cowboy team, if you would take us through the challenges they pose and the keys to your team getting a victory.
Well, I think the big thing is we got to avoid some of the big plays. They're a big play team also. They got an outstanding running back. Defensively, they're very active. They move around well. They tackle well. So, and I think in special teams they're outstanding. So I think it's a little bit like us. For us to win, we need to do offense, defense, and special teams. I think Oklahoma State is the same way. They need to play well offensively, defensively, and special teams, and they've done a good job of that.
When you look at this next stretch here of the season, you're away from home for a while now because you got Oklahoma State, then you got the bye, then you're on for another road game before you finally come back home. As a head coach going forward, does that play at all into whether it's game planning, scheming, time off, whatever it might be? Because you've already had the tricky scheduling with these first 2 games with a Friday game and a Thursday game to start. Is there a little bit of a wrench that gets thrown into things with the 2 road games sandwiched around the bye there?
Well, I think what it does, it makes your schedule well. And I think the thing with the road games, And you mentioned rest. Sometimes you need a little more rest after a road game because maybe an all-nighter coming back, just like going to Florida will be, early in the morning when we get back. So those are, I think, important things that you try to realize and try to figure into your planning. So love to have a home game in that mix.
Do you see a little extra hop in your guys' step, a little extra gleam in their eye when they're facing either in Arizona last week or in Oklahoma State this week?
Well, I think they like that type of competition. And we've talked about that. We were a Southland team. We're an independent team for a while. Would you rather play that schedule or would you rather play the schedule we have now? And they'd rather play up. And I think that's where we are now with our scheduling. And I think that's the thing that our players are excited about. And for sure, I think there is a little more of a bounce in their step. And for coaches, I think it does. It puts a little more bounce in our step also.
Coach, you mentioned having coached there in Stillwater there for a couple of years. When you go back, when you walk in, you mentioned the stadium's a little bit different than it was back in those days, but all that being said, when you walk in there, can you not help but feel a little sense of, and I know you've made a lot of stops along the way, but do you feel a little sense of, whether it be deja vu or whatever it might be, just a sense of, hey, been here, done that?
Well, it is. That was a great time for me. The 7 years I spent there, again, I've had some great players and won a lot of football games there, and I think that's the thing that I remember that. Of course, obviously, that's been a number of years ago, and I think the deja vu, I want to take our Roadrunners in and win that football game. That's what I want to do, and I think it's what they want to do also.
Coach, appreciate the time. Best of luck against the Cowboys. We'll see you next week.
Appreciate that, Coach. Thank you.
A couple of road games sandwiched in between a bye mean Coach Coker and the Roadrunners aren't home again until October 4th. That's when the Roadrunners face New Mexico. It's one of 5 games left at the Alamo Dome in 2014. So get your tickets now. To do that, go to GoUTSA.com. Today's trivia question. It's not a stretch to say that looming battle at Oklahoma State could prove the toughest road game UTSA has seen in its short history. So that being said, how have the Roadrunners fared on the road through these first 3+ years? The answer, of course, later in the show. We are just getting started here on the UTSA Football Insider. Up next, what the players are saying about the looming showdown against Oklahoma State. And later, a trend that may have started because of a Roadrunner's unique fashion sense, but has now taken on new meaning. All that and more when we return. The Roadrunners, the second opponent to invade Boone Pickett Stadium this year. Oklahoma State coming off a 40-23 win against Missouri State to claim its first win of this young season. While it's UTSA's first ever trip to Stillwater, it's not the first time going up against Oklahoma State. Last year, the Roadrunners welcomed the Cowboys to the Alamo Dome, a 56-35 loss in which the home team outscored OSU 28-14 in the fourth quarter. Going into that game last year, OK State was 13th in the country. No top 25 ranked this year, but hey, they're still Oklahoma State.
I've watched the whole Missouri State game already. They're really fast, move around well up front. They really get after the quarterbacks. So they're a great team. Coach Gundy obviously has them very disciplined as well. So we're going to have to be on our A game to, give them, put points on the board. So
I watched a little bit of it. I try not to watch a bunch of college football when I have some time off. I like to, watch our film, think about what we did and learn from it. But of course, I wanted to see what we were up against, and I saw what we were up against, and it's what I expected. A big, strong defensive front, a strong defense, good secondary. It's going to be a very good challenge for us.
It's going to be a big-time game, Big 12 opponent. They hung with the number 1 team in the nation. Obviously, it's going to be a big battle between us.
We weren't all the, considered eye candy coming out of high school that most coaches look for. Especially for me, I was considered too short, too small for defensive line at the college level and all that kind of stuff. And now I'm playing those same teams that, I was trying to go to when I was coming out of high school. So it's definitely, something we hold in the back of our minds. We don't really talk about it much, but, it's definitely there feeding us a little bit.
Like the Roadrunners, the Cowboys also entered the game with a 1-1 record. Before that win against Missouri State came a close loss on opening night to the top-ranked team in the country, defending national champ Florida State. In their most recent outing, Cowboys starting quarterback J.W. Wash sustained a foot injury early in the win against Missouri State. Backup Dax Garman played very well in relief, 16 of 26 for 244 yards and a couple of touchdowns. The Cowboys' defense was stingy in that first half as OSU got out to a 27-6 lead by the intermission, and they are looking forward to the challenge of taking on the Roadrunners. From their players to their coach, Tim Griffin caught up with Oklahoma State's Mike Gundy as he schemes and game plans for the Roadrunners.
I'm here with Mike Gundy, the head football coach of Oklahoma State University, as he prepares for this week's game against UTSA. First of all, Mike, I wonder if you could tell me, after watching all the game tapes, what is it that makes UTSA such a difficult matchup?
Well, I think this is a league game for us. I told our team that and mentioned it to the press that we're in league play. They're very capable of winning games and having success in the Big 12 Conference, and that's really what we expect. They very well could have won the game against Arizona. They give up a long touchdown play. They missed a field goal late in the game and had every opportunity to win the game, and the talent level was very similar. So it'll be a great challenge for us on Saturday.
I know you guys got your fill of UTSA last year at the Alamo Dome in that 56-35 game where they scored more points against you than any other team during the regular season. Does your team realize, because of that game, how difficult this matchup could be on Saturday?
Sure, they watched the tape. They saw them dominate Houston, and then they watched the play against Arizona where they had multiple opportunities to win that game.
Mike, does this team, UTSA, remind you of any others that you've seen Larry Coker coach over the years?
You know, I didn't see him much in Miami. He's on the other side of the country, and so I really never saw them play except maybe a couple times on TV. But they're a very well-coached team. They've recruited speed. They have speed in a lot of areas. They're mature now. I don't know what the exact numbers are, but they essentially got everybody back last year other than the quarterback. And they're good enough to win games in our league. They could be competitive in our league. So he's done a great job there, and their players are competing, and they have good plans.
Well, thanks, Mike, for joining us, and good luck on Saturday.
Thanks, Tim.
Tim, thank you very much. Time now to shine our weekly spotlight on one of the original 18. Through our first two shows, we've chatted with Scott Inskeep and Nate Leonard as we get to know each of the 18 seniors who've been here since the first day of UTSA football. Today, we focus on cornerback Darian Starling, a Tyler native. Darian has started both games this season. No surprise, he's been a starter since 2011 when he started in every game that year. Started in every game but one the following season. With a pair of breakups and 6 tackles to his credit, Darian is off to a fantastic senior season.
Dan, I just want to get how much pride there must be in the fact that you look at what the program is now, and you're one of the original 18 guys who's been here since day one.
Oh, yeah, man, I love it. I mean, it's been an amazing experience. I can remember whenever we had one gray shirt and one blue shirt way back in the day and one set of shoes, and we had to use that for the whole year, to now we get 3, 4, 5, I don't know, it's countless number of gear now. I just can't believe how far we went from losing to McMurray and beating all these big teams that we're beating now. It's an amazing experience, and it's just cool to see the growth of a program like this, and it's cool to be a part of.
Still to come, we go one-on-one with the Roadrunner who knows Oklahoma State better than most. He's got a great story to him as well, when UTSA Football Insider continues. A MacArthur grad, Ashad Mabry, committed to Oklahoma State and traveled to Stillwater back in 2011 before returning home. Wanted to be closer to his mom, who was dealing with several health issues at the time. Since then, number 97's proven a constant on the UTSA defensive line, and with the Cowboy game coming up next, we caught up with Mabry, now a senior for the Roadrunners.
I remember when you transferred back to UTSA 3 years ago. By the way, does it seem like 3 years?
Nah.
They've gone by since then. When you transferred back 3 years ago, it was a great story because you were coming back to be with your mom, and you were leaving powerful Oklahoma State to come to a program that was brand new. 3 years later, when you look back, was it a decision that was so worth it that it was, one of the best things you've done?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think it was the best decision for me and my family. When I was up there, I wasn't really focused on football because I knew everything that was going on at home with my mom. So I definitely think this was the best decision for me, and I mean, hopefully the coaches feel the same.
I'm sure they do. How is your mom doing?
She's doing good now. She's doing good.
Yeah. Health-wise, a lot better than back in 2011 when you felt like you had to come.
Yeah, a lot better.
So great news on all fronts. And when you look at everything, you know, where you've come from since 2011, and you mentioned you hope the coaches are happy too. I'm sure they are. You look at the season last year, I think you led all defensive linemen in tackles. To be able to produce the way you're producing on the field, it's got to be a pretty good feeling for you coming into this year, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just try my best to, I don't really worry about the stats. I just, try and help my team in the best way possible. But, I mean, try and be as dominant as I can out there. So.
For you, who gave up a chance to play at Oklahoma State, and now you're senior year, here you go. If everything goes right and you guys stay injury-free, I think a lot of folks are expecting UTSA to end up in a bowl game. So for you personally, to have given that up but still have a chance to play, in a bowl game like that, at that level, pretty neat?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, that's our biggest goal, just to go to a bowl game. And, I really want to go to one. I know, Oklahoma State has gone to a few since I left or whatever. But, yeah, I mean, that's our biggest goal. And it's one of my biggest goals, just to go. And, man, it would just be an amazing feeling for UTSA and UTSA football history.
I know you had a taste of this last year, but to line up against Oklahoma State, a little bit of a different feeling?
Yeah, I mean, still have a lot of friends on the team, so yeah, I mean, it's different, but I mean, to me, it's kind of like, any other team.
And you've got a little boy now, ever since you moved back to San Antonio, right? Am I mistaken, 2 years old?
2 years old.
How's that been?
I mean, it was different at first, but I mean, you grow, I mean, you love him, and he makes you grow up a lot faster, but yeah, I mean, it's a great feeling to be a father, really.
What's tougher, chasing a 2-year-old around the house or dealing with an NCAA D1 division offensive lineman?
Probably chasing the 2-year-old.
Thanks so much for the time. Last question here. Just when you look at, what you guys have a chance to accomplish this year, does it feel like the sky's the limit and from here on out the rest of the way, there's no reason why you guys can't achieve what you've wanted to achieve for the last several years now?
Well, I mean, honestly, we just go out there and we feel like there's not a team that we can't beat if we really go out there and play our hardest. And, I mean, we really do feel like the sky's the limit for us this year.
Appreciate the time, Ashad. Thank you.
Still to come, Aaron Carreño stops by to show us the latest craze on campus when UTSA Football Insider returns. Don't forget, go UTSA.com to get your tickets. 5 home games left in 2014. The next one comes October 4th, New Mexico, 2:30 start time. UTSA Oklahoma State, one of many great matchups that feature a Conference USA team this week. Look at several other games involving league schools. FIU hosts Pittsburgh, that's an 11 o'clock start. For the second straight week, Alabama battles a Conference USA opponent. Florida Atlantic last weekend, Southern Miss. This time around, 5 o'clock kick for that one. UTEP welcomes New Mexico State at 7. An hour later, a battle begins in College Station as Rice heads down the road for a matchup with the Aggies. Now, the Owls and Aggies, a couple of teams that folks expect to play in bowl games, at least the experts do. UTSA is another one, and that's why Aaron Carreño joins us now. And Aaron, I think that some people around campus are kind of channeling their inner Bo, if that makes any sense.
Yes, bowling is the way to put it. And let's talk about Mr. Personality. For a while, he was a bit of a lone ranger on campus, but you may be able to credit him for a trend that's only beginning.
Nate Leonard, student athlete, writer, fashion icon? Yes, that's right, fashion icon. The 6-foot offensive lineman has been known to sport a bow tie, and since the university's approval for full FBS membership, the Roadrunners are now bowl eligible. Combine those two, and you get the bowl tie.
Yeah, the bowl tie was a pretty cool thing. The marketing department came to me, and they wanted me to do a photo shoot for them, and I was like, a photo shoot of an offensive lineman? That probably has never been done before. And so I did. I dressed up, wore my jersey in the bowl tie, and if you can believe it, it's taken off. And I just see them all over campus. People talk to me, through the social media and like, we support you, and they take pictures of their bowl tie. And it's pretty cool to know that something that I brought will stay here for a little bit and has taken off.
The football program is only 5 wins away from their first ever bowl appearance, and the bowl tie craze has taken a life of its own. It even has its own Facebook page.
One of my fans created it and just post pictures of people, and I send pictures to the admin, and it makes me smile. And during a game when it's very intense and there's a lot on the line, and you can look up in the stands and something makes you smile. I mean, that's pretty cool. And just knowing that I've had a fashionable impact on people is something that I would have never thought possible.
Aaron, great job as always. You mentioned Nate starting a trend on campus. Maybe we can start a trend here too. We should give him his own segment, the way he's going.
Yes, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind that. But as for the bow ties, let's hope the Roadrunners look as good and stylish on the field as the fans do off it.
Aaron, thank you again. Great job. All right, let's answer today's trivia question with the Oklahoma State Cowboys up next. What is the Roadrunners' all-time record away from home? 9-8. Even more impressive when you consider UTSA's 9-4 over the last 3 seasons. That includes the win at Houston on opening night this year. All right, a reminder, 6 o'clock start for the showdown against OK State. Back on the road for the first ever trip to Stillwater in UTSA's short football history. That's all the time we've got for this 3rd edition of UTSA Football Insider for 2014. We're going to see you again next week. For Tim Griffin, Aaron Carreño, and all the great folks over at UTSA, have a great one.